Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of Great Books in 10 Minutes. By the end of this episode, you will learn everything about Goethe's famous play, Faust. Faust is considered to be the best work of German literature and Goethe's most impressive composition. It is entirely in rhymed verse, and through the years it has been performed on countless occasions, both internationally and in Germany. Faust was first composed under the title of Urfaust between 1772 and 1775. Later, Goethe developed it into two plays and finished its final version in 1831, and just 1 year before his death. The main themes of Faust are logic, love, lust, existential philosophy, spirituality, religion, and death. The story of Faust starts in heaven, where a personification of the devil named Mephistopheles boasts to God about the corruption that he has caused on earth and bets that he can lead astray one of his most intelligent humans, Faust, and fool him into condemning his soul to eternal damnation. God accepts the bet, declaring that Faust will remain faithful. Next, we see Faust in his study room, surrounded by all sorts of books and lab equipment. Faust complains about the fact that he has read every book that there is about the earthly subjects, from mathematics and science to philosophy and humanities, and has yet to find his way into the realm of higher knowledge and learn the real secrets of the universe. He then, hoping to find a way out of despair, summons the spirit of the earth. But the spirit refuses to entertain his questions and leaves, saying that he is still ignorant. Heartbroken by his failure and depressed from the repetitiveness of life, Faust decides to commit suicide by drinking poison. Right at this moment, church bells start to ring, and the sound of holy music and angelic voices remind him that it is Easter and save his life. Faust and his assistant Wagner spend all day outside the city. On their way back home, an ominous black dog follows them. When they arrive, the dog acts strange and starts to bark and grow bigger and bigger in size. At this moment, Faust casts a magic spell that forces the dog to show its true identity, and Mephistopheles the devil appears. After a conversation with Faust and listening to the old man's complaint about the mundanity of the earthly life, Mephistopheles proposes a wager and offers to serve Faust on earth and give him a moment of transcendence so filled with pleasure that would make him want to stay alive forever. If he succeeds in doing that, then Faust in return will trade his immortal soul for it and will serve the devil in hell for eternity. Faust is certain that he knows everything about the mortal world and what it has to offer, so he accepts the wager, believing that nothing could make him want to stay alive forever. First, Mephistopheles tries to impress Faust with magical powers and takes him to a tavern in Leipzig, where they give free wine to everyone, only for the wine to transform into a burning fire. Then he takes the old man to a witch and in her kitchen gives him a potion that restores his youth and makes him 30 years younger. Faust then in a mirror sees the perfect image of a beautiful woman and regains his sexual urges. A few days later, Faust sees a beautiful maiden named Margaret on her way out of the church and instantly falls in love with her. Faust demands Mephistopheles aid him in winning the girl's heart. The devil accepts. He then sneaks into Margaret's room and leaves a box of valuable jewels for her. Next, the devil organizes a meeting between Margaret and Faust at the house of their neighbor, Martha. During the meeting, Margaret tells Faust about her difficult life and how after the death of her sister, the only people she has in this world are her mother and her soldier brother. Faust professes his love for Margaret, and Margaret, being young and inexperienced, believes him. After the meeting, Faust, worried that he could corrupt the innocent girl, runs away from Mephistopheles and hides in a cave. After finding Faust, Mephistopheles scolds him for his cowardly behavior and entices him into believing that Margaret is yearning for him day and night. Faust falls for the devil's temptation and allows passion and lust to overtake his soul. Mephistopheles then takes Faust into the girl's room again, and this time, Faust and Margaret speak about religion and the obstacles in their way of consummating their relationship. Margaret says that she is a faithful Christian. She is certain that her mother will not approve of his relationship with Faust. At this moment, Mephistopheles offers her a sleeping potion and tells her to mix it with her mother's drink so she could have time to be with Faust. Next, Faust and Margaret spend the night together, and consequently, Margaret becomes pregnant. At the same time, Margaret's mother dies because of the sleeping potion and never wakes up again. Next, Margaret's brother, Valentine, returns from war and, hearing of his sister's immoral lifestyle, decides to take revenge by killing the man who has seduced her. The moment Valentine knocks on Margaret's door, Faust and Mephistopheles arrive from the other side of the street. Valentine confronts Faust and the fight breaks out. During the duel, and with the help of Mephistopheles' magic, Faust plunges his sword deep into Valentine's chest and kills him. He then flees the scene and disappears. Margaret, upon seeing her fallen brother, tries to comfort him in his last moments by holding his head and speaking gently to him, but Valentine curses her to eternal damnation. After a few months, Faust, who fled the scene of the murder, reappears during an occult ceremony, and while watching a play staged by witches and spirits, is informed through Mephistopheles that Margaret has been imprisoned for the crime of murdering her baby and is scheduled to be executed the next day. Faust curses Mephistopheles for hiding this from him and vows to save her. When they arrive at prison and Faust sees Margaret in the most pitiful state, he realizes the damages that his selfish acts have inflicted on her. He tells the poor girl that he can ask his assistant Mephistopheles to set her free and invites her to join him. Margaret, who has found clarity through her sufferings, recognizes Mephistopheles for who he is and tells Faust that he rejects him and his assistants, and then prays to God to save her soul. Mephistopheles, seeing Margaret's unshaken faith, becomes angry and threatens Faust that if he doesn't leave right away, he will abandon him, to which Faust consents. While leaving, Mephistopheles screams at Margaret that she lost her chance and she is now definitely condemned and damned. At the same moment, an angelic voice echoes in the prison and says that Margaret will be saved because she denounced the devil and asked for help only from God. The next time that we see Faust, he has found his way into the court of the emperor and is busy acquiring earthly powers and gaining control over the forces of nature. The emperor is worried about the current financial situation of his empire and inspires his courtiers to find a way out of impending bankruptcy. At this moment, Mephistopheles introduces the idea of paper money to create an illusion of prosperity for the kingdom. The emperor, satisfied with the short-term solution, grants Faust and Mephistopheles a fiefdom and holds a masquerade to celebrate it. During the masquerade, the emperor asks his magicians to summon the spirits of Helen of Troy and her lover Paris. Mephistopheles gives Faust a key with which he travels to the spiritual realm and summons both Helen and Paris. When Faust sees Helen, he falls in love with her and is enraged when Paris intends to kidnap her. In order to save Helen, he touches Paris with the magical key, which causes both of the spirits to vanish. Next, Mephistopheles takes Faust to Greece, and during a summoning night, when all the figures from Greek mythology are present, Faust finds his way into a healer's temple, and in the hope of saving Helen from Hades, through a portal, he travels to the underworld. There, Mephistopheles tells Helen that her husband, Menelaus, has decided to murder her and offers to rescue her and take her to the palace of a loving lord who will cherish her forever. Helen accepts, and Mephistopheles takes her to Faust's fortress. There, the two fall in love, and Helen marries Faust. At this moment, Menelaus attacks the fortress with a massive army, but with the help of magic, he is brutally crushed. Then Helen gives birth to a boy named Euphorion, who dies shortly after his birth, which causes her to leave Faust to stay with his son in the underworld forever. Grief-stricken by his son's death, Faust tells Mephistopheles that he wants to create a new country by pushing the sea back and cultivating new lands, and to achieve that, he needs a fiefdom by the sea. To grant Faust his final wish, Mephistopheles appears to the emperor again, who is now busy suppressing multiple revolutions in his kingdom, which have all been caused by his failed economic policies and the devaluation of his worthless paper currency. The devil tells the emperor that Faust has become such a powerful sorcerer that he could easily crush the rebellions, and all he's asking in return is an estate by the sea. The emperor agrees, and Faust defeats the rebels by summoning the three mighty men from the Bible. A few decades pass, and Faust, who is now 100 years old, has almost succeeded in creating a new country. He has ruled over his people with wisdom and justice, and is well respected within his kingdom. But despite all of his success, one piece of land belonging to an old couple remains out of his reach. Faust, who is obsessed with the grove, summons the three mighty men and sends them with Mephistopheles to seize the property, but advises them to not show violence. However, they take over the land with fire and destruction and kill the old couple. Faust regrets his decision and retires to his chambers. There he encounters the five unholy dark siblings: want, debt, distress, care, and death. Among the siblings, only Care, who materializes as a woman, manages to enter the room. She then blinds Faust and tries to paralyze him with fear, but his restless spirit and his devotion to creating a utopia for his people save him from paralysis. Faust, who now knows he doesn't have much time left, fiercely dedicates himself to the work of building his country without using magic. Meanwhile, Mephistopheles summons the dead to start digging his grave and counts the days until he can finally take his soul to hell. On his last day on Earth, Faust has a beautiful vision and sees the future of his country and the comfortable life that he has created for his people. He feels euphoric and satisfied with life on Earth and realizes how precious it could be. With that moment of transcendence, Mephistopheles summons his demons from hell and declares that he has won the bet, and Faustus' soul is now his to take. At this moment, and as Faustus' soul is leaving his body, angels intervene and take him to heaven, declaring that because Faust was focused on the betterment of other people's lives and regained his sense of right and wrong, he has only lost half of the bet. In heaven, Margaret pleads with Virgin Mary to forgive Faust for his sins. Mary tells Margaret to fly upward to heaven and be sure that Faust will join her later. Very well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed my summary of Faust. If you have been getting value out of the channel and you would like to support it, you can now use Venmo or buy me a coffee directly from the links in the description box. Please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video. See you in the next episode.